Action! Reload! Action! Reload!
Oh my god.
Continue!
Success! This is what happens when you don't train for a long time. Alright guys, it's a long time overdue. Finally doing an update on my MK18 Mod 1. I'm only doing this update because I'm pretty much not going to be changing anything else on here unless some of the really difficult parts just happen to fall into my lap. Otherwise, I'm just kind of done spending money on this thing, and it's, I think in my mind, close enough to what I'm ever going to have for a MK18 build. And I'm pretty happy with it, so I think that's the most important thing. Although, I will say, and I have to draw the line here, there are a lot of inspired builds out there, which I have also been guilty of doing in the past, but a lot of inspired builds out there that are absolute garbage. Like your 10.3 or 10.5 AR that has nothing clone parts on it whatsoever is not a MK18. Just gonna put that out there for you. Sorry if you feel butthurt about that. Alright, so what exactly is a MK18 then? This one is in the configuration of MK18 Mod 1, which has the Block 2 accessories on it. I have another video that I did a MK18 Mod 0, which kind of has like the Block 1 type accessories on there. You can check that one out if you're interested in the previous build, but this one is their later Block 2 accessories one. And then you also have CQBR, which basically just refers to the upper alone in this configuration. But essentially, my build here is a MK18 Mod 1. I started this off with a Colt SBR lower. So actually, I ended up buying an entire Colt SBR to build this off of, which actually, out of that build, the only part that is retained is actually just the registered lower receiver. This one's factory M4. If I was smarter, I probably would have done an M4A1 and then Form 1'd it, but I didn't want to engrave the lower or the barrel. And so this one, because it's a factory one, you don't have to engrave it. And it basically is just marked M4. So I think that's fine. But otherwise, let's kind of get into some of the details on the gun, and I'll show you like kind of more up close what accessories I've decided to put on this gun, and also the extra stuff that I have for it, because different configurations and so forth. So let's start off with the front of the gun. I've got a Knights Armament NT4. This one I chose because it also is correct to use on the MK18 Mod 0, so it ended up being kind of like a double whammy for being able to put it on both guns. And then I have a Knights NT4 flash hider underneath. Pretty much just looks like a bird cage, but it's modified to take this suppressor quick disconnect. I've got a Surefire mini tan light here. These ones are acceptable use for cloning purposes. You would be way cooler if you had like the Insight M3X or the WMX200. Those ones are not hard to find, but they're quite expensive for negative lumens essentially. So I just, unless that falls into my lap for a really good deal, probably not gonna have one on my gun. But the Surefire is acceptable. I have a dual switch for the Surefire as well as the L3 PEC15. This guy basically is just laser unit with IR illuminator and laser. And then I have a Knights Armament front sight on here. This one is the MK18 taupe front sight. These do come in different shades. Mine tends to lean more towards the gray side, whereas some of these end up being like really flat dark earth. Then I have the Daniel Defense RIS-2 quad rail, and this is over a 10.3 Colt barrel with the gas port being sized out to 0.70, I think, 0.070. So basically the correct gas size for shooting suppressed and unsuppressed of this barrel length. The RIS-2, how you know this one's a RIS-2 is one, it is marked, you can't really see it, but it's marked on the rail with an NSN, and it also says RIS-2 on it. And the bottom section of the rail if you unscrew all the screws on the side of the rail, you can actually remove, and it's supposed to allow you to attach grenade launchers directly to the barrel. I'm not certain that you can actually do that with this length though. Most of the time when I see grenade launchers on quote-unquote Mark 18s, they tend to be on the 12-inch guns, or just the Block 2 rifles where it's like a 14.5-inch barrel. But this one does retain the feature of having the removable bottom rail. I also have a Lanco Tactical Grip Stop Mod 2 on here. These are awesome. I love them. A lot of these in the wild, well, actually you see a lot more of the B5 ones in the wild, but the ones that are actually marked Lanco Tactical, this one was pretty tough to find and also pretty expensive. Nowadays, at least on the clone market. Usually the rare components just tend to be more expensive. Moving on, got Gen 3 MCT PMag, but you know, you also use like Colt GI magazines. There's a bunch of options there, but generally speaking, you're either using the PMags or the gray GI mags like OK Industries, Colt marked ones, whatever. And then I've got my Colt lower, Colt selector. I threw a Geisley trigger in here. I'm certain that there's a bunch of dudes out there rocking Geisley triggers. You know, you can argue that that's not clone correct, but you know, you've got basically like GI triggers that you throw in there and stuff, but I like the Geisley in there and it's pretty subtle, so I'm gonna leave that in there. A2 grip, baby, old school. I honestly don't mind A2 grips. They're not my favorite, but for this purpose, I think it looks good on my gun. And also, sometimes I use this lower for my M4 build as well, and so it's just nice to have that on there. I've got CQD sling mount end plate, which actually I don't even actually use it to mount the sling, but that is the correct component on there. A1 teardrop forward assist, Knights Armament 300 rear, PRI gas buster in the tannadized color. I've got an EOTech EXPS 3-0. This one would be like an SU-231, but it's just not marked that way, so unfortunately I'm not as cool guy in that factor. Right here I've got a CQD front sling mount for my HK claw hook on the front there. And the last part is the B5 Coyote Gen 1 Top Mod buttstock with a Knights Armament QD adapter. Technically, you should just run the sling through the buttstock slots, but I got my hands on a couple of these, so I figure why not. I'm also running a Knights Armament riser. Basically, I just want this to be a little bit higher so I can keep my head up, and also when I'm using nods, it's much easier to shoot with the red dot there. But yeah, running a Blue Forest gear, tan padded sling, and that's pretty much the entire build. I have a couple small pieces that I have swapped out before. So like Tango down, vertical grip in the full size configuration, but these are kind of a pain in the ass to take off and put on. So I put it on there once, used it for a little bit, and I didn't. I just prefer the grip stop now that I have it. GI mags, nothing special there. And then I have a Colt N1 Fiberlight buttstock with another one of those Knights Armament QD socket end plates and a rubber butt plate zip tied on there, just because, I don't know, cool guys do that, I guess. But I really like it with those accessories on there. So I think your old school Mark 18 with the N1 stock and the old style magazine is pretty cool looking. Kind of gives it that sort of like retro future look, if this is quote unquote the future, which is like super old tech. And then obviously with no can on the front, keeps it nice and short. I actually really like shooting this gun without the can on the front, mainly because having that huge weight on the front just means a little bit, it's a little bit unwieldy in some instances, and it is also a 16-inch length essentially from the receiver end, so it is a little bit long for close quarter stuff. So when I'm moving around and it's tight, having that 10-inch barrel and moving around is actually pretty nice. But I do really like it with this as well. I just mostly run it with PMags as well as the tan B5 stock. But that's pretty much what I wanted to show you guys for the update on my Mark 18 build. Like I said, I don't really think I'm going to get any more parts for it just because I'm kind of done spending money on this thing. It's kind of a money pit, and I like it in the way it is. I've run it like this for a while, and it's a really fun gun to shoot. So I really like that, and just thought I would share it with you guys and let you guys see what my builds are like. You can let me know what parts you think are cooler or better in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching the video. If you like it, please throw down a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and also check out my Instagram because I update that a lot. So you'll see a lot more content and stuff on there much quicker than on our YouTube channel. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time. Or should I shoot like this, or should I do like this? Because this doesn't even make sense. But like, this is like, it's like, oh, you're like kind of making sense here, except you're not. And then I'm also gonna shoot my foot off.